Hello. Welcome to the Human Factors Book Club. My name's Caroline MacDonald. I'm one of the paediatric surgeons at Sheffield Children's NHS Foundation Trust. And today I'm going to talk to you about John Bargh. Might be John Bargh, I'm not sure. And it's called Before You Know It. And it's called The Unconscious Reasons We Do What We Do. So I actually listened to this book in audio format. I tend to listen to my audiobooks at 1.2, but if you listen to it full hand, it's about 11 hours, and it took me about 4 weeks to listen to it. And I must be honest, I did find myself interested in returning to it. It didn't feel like a chore. So the premise of the book is an expert in understanding the unconscious talks us through 10 years of research. It was published in 2017. So it is slightly old. I think there's probably a lot of the ideas are now in common kind of understanding. But what's really nice about the book is it does talk about the context of thinking about the unconscious and the subconscious mind and how much of our cognitive thinking comes from our sort of anthropological past. So it's interesting, and it's particularly interesting in the context of history because at one point it was felt because you can't measure it, it should be excluded from science. So I'm very happy that he's continued and he's given us his 10 years of interest. So overall, I think the book's very good. I think there's a lot of really good content. There's a lot of really good ideas. And actually, for one of the American kind of nerd books about these things, it's relatively accessible. For me, there's probably a bit too many sports references, lots of kind of quite male-based sports references, but that tends to be the case with quite a lot of these books, and it doesn't fully detract. What I really liked in this is it did seem to have a good balance of talking about the overview of the ideas, as well as giving you the actual science or the psychological experiments. And to me, it felt like there was a good deal of authenticity about the quality of the research, the detail in it, but not overwhelming. So in that way, it felt it was really good. So for me, for this book, there was a couple of take-home kind of really strong ideas, things I'm going to incorporate almost immediately into my clinical practice. One of the things I really liked was the idea that actually if you establish 5 minutes of rapport with somebody, you can improve the accuracy of the information gathering and reporting. So that was very interesting to me. That there's some work done that genuinely shows that being kind to people increases people's helpfulness. And then, of course, as doctors, that's something we'd very much like to support. So that's something, again, straight into my clinical practice. But what I thought was really interesting is this kind of the way that the subconscious and the conscious run alongside each other. And actually, that's a good thing. There is times where things are really strong to leave in the subconscious. So I've always liked to start work projects really early. And that's really nice, is that this really supports that it allows the subconscious to run with ideas, and then it kicks it into the conscious when it needs the conscious to move things along. So actually sometimes that nighttime wakefulness, when you suddenly need to think things through, might actually be very needful for the conscious to become involved in the subconscious kind of processing. And then the other thing is that we have inherent tribalism and biases that is built fundamentally in our anthropology that we can't do much about, but actually knowing about it allows us to mitigate it. So, back to the book. I would give it 4 out of 5 for content, and similarly 4 out of 5 for accessibility. So I hope you've enjoyed this book review, and there'll be more coming as we have time and opportunity within our week to think about the books that improve us to incorporate human factors, understanding, or psychological ergonomics, as I also like to think of it, into our day-to-day lives to improve safety in the theatre's environment. Thank you.